could stay in a cozy home with pets and all the comforts for free when you travel. Essentially, you care for somebody's home and pets. In exchange, you get a free place to stay. This type of travel would work for you if you're responsible, because this is a very responsible situation, and you're happy to give up some hours of your day in exchange for free accommodation. I'd say the typical sit duration is about 1 week to get some experience. What's typically not covered will be things like your food costs, your personal expenses, traveling to and from the house sit, as well as any transportation that is required while you're there. The type of house sits that I do are cats only. I love kitties. I'm a cat lady. I don't care if anyone has a weird negative opinion of that. I don't care. The thing I love about cats is their little personalities. I haven't had too many overly clingy ones, but there's been a few. I mentioned that I exclusively focus on cats, but if you love dogs, you'll have many more house sitting opportunities because dogs need a lot more attention. Also, people keep all sorts of animals as pets, so there's lots of variety out there. And then after the sit, the house sitter and the homeowner review each other typically. I'll talk about the intricacies of how this works in just a bit. I just want to touch on the home comforts bit because I think it's one of the best reasons. For example, I mean, there's a lot more space than you would get in your typical holiday rental or hotel room. You get laundry access. I cannot tell you how much I love the fact that I don't have to wait for a machine to be free. I don't have to worry about somewhere safe to put my laundry to dry, that sort of thing. Kitchens are great. I love cooking. I love having the option to cook because I save money, it's healthier. In one of my recent house sits, I fell in love with the Aga. So if you don't know the Aga, it's a wonderful British, I think it's a British invention, I better fact check that. Essentially, you see them in sometimes larger, more traditional homes. It's an integrated range cooker or stove, and it's always on. It's always ready to go. So I could boil a kettle in a couple minutes. My ADHD brain loved I didn't have to preheat the oven. Most of the time, homeowners are really happy for you to use their pantry basics, so oil, spices, salt, pepper. You know, it's all the kind of things that would be kind of difficult to bring with you or restock every time you came to a new home sit. Also, occasionally you get told just help yourself to whatever's in the fridge, which is really nice. A few times homeowners have even said help yourself to the wine, which is nice, but I'm reasonable. Another thing I really like is that it's... Oh my god. Sorry, a dog's just run into the garden. Nope, goodbye. Go. Come on, off you pop. I just didn't want him to poo in the garden. Okay. Where were we? Yeah, I love having a dedicated place to work. I think a lot of times now people have at least one type of working space set up in their homes. So having, like, I always look for a proper desk, a proper chair. I love it if there's an external monitor, but that is more rare. And decent Wi-Fi, obviously. I think everyone loves that. I'm late diagnosed autistic and I'm also an introvert. So I really love having the peace and quiet, the solitude. I don't mind having a cat or two to talk to, but otherwise, yeah, it's this wonderful opportunity to decompress, especially because between cat sits, I'm spending more time with people. So yeah, having this nice break is perfect for me. It's also really nice that tourism isn't being shoved in your face. Owners will definitely prepare a guidebook or a list of their favorite cafes, restaurants, pubs, places to walk to in the local area. When I was a homeowner using cat sitters, a lot of people were drawn to the fact that I live close to the South Downs National Park. And if you're a keen walker, then it's a great place to explore. One of the things that's worth digging into is living life as a local. So living in a residential area means that, yeah, you don't have as many amenities on your doorstep, but it's a slower pace of life, which I can appreciate. As long as it's vaguely walkable to shops or public transportation, it's fine for me. Obviously, if you have a car, then it wouldn't be a problem at all. And it's not just pets and the home and the neighborhood, but it's also the people that are attached to the house sit. So I've met some wonderful, wonderful people that are the homeowners, and we've stayed in touch, and sometimes they invite me back. I've also had really interesting chats with neighbors and gardeners. I did a cat sit in the Hunter Valley in Australia about 4 months ago. The buildings had a few different lives, but it was basically an industrial building and it was converted into apartments. And several of the neighbors like to gather in the courtyard after work and just kick back and shoot the breeze, drink some wine, and I thought that sounded amazing. So I was pleasantly surprised at how nice that was to have kind of a built-in social circle. I know that I just said I'm an introvert, but also at the same time not having to go out and meet people if you don't feel like it is great. These people were all very, 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 very nice. In the time I was there, I was driven to the supermarket a couple times. One of them took me to a neighboring town to explore, which was really, really nice. And then as a group, we went to some wineries. And another recent cat sit, the gardener was there. It was really helpful. He knew a lot about the cats, the plants, and it's nice having someone to chat to who was around a couple days a week. When that happens, it feels less like you're visiting and more like you're temporarily living there. So it's a nice feeling. I think Airbnb tried to be like this, like that was the feeling they were trying to go for, but it didn't really work out in the long run because it feels like a lot of them they're run like businesses and they can be a little bit misleading. Yeah. That's another video, why I'm done with Airbnb. A few other challenges and potential downsides to mention are that there can be last-minute cancellations just due to unforeseen circumstances. There might be unexpected pet health issues, or something about the ad is not accurate. It's rare, but it happens. Also, you'll need to have a degree of flexibility and adaptability. It's just not simply possible for homeowners to predict everything. Also, if you do a long-term sit, there's the aspect of having to leave these pets that you've bonded emotionally with. By the way, if you found this useful or interesting so far, I would love it if you could hit the like button so that YouTube keeps showing it to people. If all of this sounds good so far, then next steps, if you don't know, maybe you already know. So finding house sitting opportunities. There's, I guess, 3 ways to approach this. One is a paid platform where people pay a subscription fee and there's basically trust built in because you rate each other. The second is something like a Facebook group for a local area, and that, I guess, also based on trust. Personally, for me, I'm going to stick with the paid ones because it feels a lot more trustworthy, especially as someone traveling by themselves, usually. I suppose the third way is if you just know somebody, like a friend of a friend. That's happened to me before. They hear that I'm a house sitter and they're like, hey, do you want to come look after my dogs in Dallas, Texas? And I'm like, I don't really do dogs. Also, Dallas is really far. The paid platform I use the most is Trusted House Sitters. They were established in England probably about 10 years ago, and I've been using them, gosh, at least 7 years, but most of that as a homeowner. And then the other one I've also used is Aussie House Sitters. I didn't like it as much, but they've recently redesigned it, and I haven't used it since, so I don't know, maybe it's much better. If anyone wants me to do a review of Trusted House Sitters, I can do that, looking at the app and the website because I use them pretty much every day. Now, it's not easy when you're new to get selected for cat sits, and even when you're established, it's not easy to get selected. I think sometimes the homeowners have very specific criteria that they're looking for. I still get rejected, and I have 23 5-star sits. It definitely gets easier to get selected as you get more reviews. So my advice if you're getting started is to just go local, because if there's someone in your local area that you can meet face-to-face ahead of the sit before they decide, you got to get your first 5-star review. After that, it's a lot easier. So I mentioned that I've done house sitting in other countries. I'd say this is a more advanced option. It's not impossible, but there's a few things to be aware of. One is that border officials in various countries might treat house sitting as work, even though you're not being paid, and they could deny you entry. There are stories of it happening. So from that point of view, it's probably not a good idea. The other one is that homeowners are less likely to accept an international sitter just because there's things that can go wrong if their flights get canceled or like I said, they get denied entry to the country. Or just even that your travel gets delayed. So let's just say it's definitely easier to do house sitting if you're already in a country, or you definitely have like clearance to work there if for whatever reason you maybe hold dual passport like I do. For me, house sitting has enabled me to travel places that I wouldn't necessarily go to, and it's been really good so far overall. I save a lot of money. And in fact, I will do a separate video. I want to talk about how much I've spent and how much I've saved since I gave up renting. I sold my property a long time ago. Yeah, that video is coming up. I just need to do the numbers. I'm just a little bit, it's like not a fun job to do that, but it's important I do it. If house sitting seems like the gentle type of travel that you would like to do, let me know in the comments, like what appeals to you, what questions do you have, and maybe I can use your questions in a future video. Also, if you're interested in the idea of giving up a home base and putting everything else into storage or giving it away, and yeah, living a life on the road essentially, I've done a separate video about that, which you can check out here. I will see you over there.